Hey, check up. Let's play some D. We're going with Kendrick's new album. Fifth studio album, as I mentioned. I do believe this is like his last one with Top Dog, final project with Top Dog. He'll probably stay, I guess, but who knows? It features some narration. The appearances are blast. Sampha, I'm not totally sure how to say his name. Taylor Page, Summer Walker, Kodak, Baby King. Just to name a few. The elements, and I've been very, very observant of the different elements in different albums nowadays, and I realized that is what I like in every album, every genre, every artist. I like when everybody mixes it up a little bit. When you keep it the same, it kind of is boring to me. It kind of gets That's what kind of gets boring to me. The same theme. I know people, and I feel like that's kind of, to me, I never cared for, but I think it's old now. Is that following a theme and or path on an album from a lyrical standpoint and or from a sonically standpoint. Just kind of the same sound, similar sounding. I don't really care for that anymore. Actually, I used to a lot, but it's just kind of just as you, and I may go back to it. It's just when you hear something enough, at least me, I hear something enough, I want something else. The album contains elements of the free jazz, funk, that psychedelic jazz, then the West Coast hip hop mainly. I mean, everything else is a little bit in there, but that West Coast hip hop with that the funk and jazz, you get that, for sure. And I thought you got that early on in the album. He touches on a bunch of different themes across the board, which is super dope. And tours coming up, 65 dates. But let's get into the double disc, split up in 9 tracks per disc. Disc one is just is very, very good. United in Grief comes off popping on your head. N95 right behind it, kind of touching on the news and some things. Worldwide Steppers, and then Die Hard. Die Hard is probably it looks like the single is actually N95, but I have a feeling Die Hard is the one that's going to get the most airways play, but I totally could be wrong. Father Time overall is probably the best song on here. That that or Auntie Diaries, and then Mother I'm Sober. Those three songs are super neck and neck, and they're very, very superior. They're premium music. They're very, very good songs, and it's really hard to pick one. It's really just on whichever listen. But in the midst of still speaking of those songs, is that Purple Hearts, We Cry Together is a it's a song, but it's more of a conversation. But it's a really solid. It pulls out different from the rest of the album. It doesn't play over music really, but it's a solid track. It's a very, very in depth. I can't even think of the word. It has a lot of emotion to it. It's probably the most emotional and powerful song on here. Uh, I think just because you get the perspective of two different people. When every other aspect, like Father Time and Auntie Diaries, this is all speaking from essentially Kendrick's perspective. If you look at it from that point of view, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of writers on here, but how the story is told on We Cry Together is told from two different perspectives, and it's a lot of passion, and that song is really, really good across the board. The first 9 tracks, the first disc is resonates with me a little bit more too because of I'm a big in the gym type of guy. Music that plays through the headphones really well. And I only listen to music through the headphones in the gym. I don't walk around listen to music through my headphones. I just don't. I don't do that. I don't do that regularly. That's not a thing that I do. Those 9 songs, pretty much all except "We Cry Together." It's not really a song. But "Rich Spirit," the interlude's cool, and everything else. These first 9 are just total bangers. Purple Hearts wraps it up right, following the theme right behind "We Cry Together." They actually kind of intertwine if you listen to them right through, and then this is where like all the reflection kind of comes in. I believe. I mean, Father Time's reflection too. There's reflection here, but mostly all of this reflection. He wraps it up with mirror, as telling look in the mirror. You understand that, and you kind of speak on Mr. Morale of yourself here, and he's mostly speaking in terms of his. A lot of people, a lot of rappers talk in general. He is speaking his, I think, his feelings. I think Baby Keem on Save the Savior interlude and right into Savior. These two are really really good. Like all of this, like 3, 4, and 5. These are really good. These kind of like, for me, they fit. And Silent Hill is like a banger. And just it's unexpected to have. I didn't expect to see Kodak on here at all. There's a lot of like, I think it's controversy. Kodak Black. There's Auntie Diaries controversy. Kendrick likes controversy. I think he likes controversy. He did mention, Father Time with Drake and Kanye, whatever. I don't personally don't think they're cool, but he's saying how he got some growing to do. I think he speaks on various things, and that's another reason why I like to mention that I'm 4 listens in on this album, and I still feel like I haven't totally grasped it all, and I feel that way on a lot of albums. A lot of albums that are really really good, that have a lot of good tracks. It's hard to grasp it all after so many listens. You have to sit with it and really let it digest for a while. And it's always weird when people, and I know it's for content now, but people just get out there and release a review. I mean, you could sit there and listen to an album. I mean, this is an hour long, a little over an hour. I mean, you could listen to this 4 times in 4 hours and then come out with a review, I suppose. But it doesn't digest. You can't just 4 hours, 4 hours. Yeah, you could read the lyrics and try to break everything down, I suppose. If that's your job, I'm sure you can. But I think stuff needs to sit. I think you need to sleep on albums like this. I think you need to listen to these albums in different settings. I think is very, very important. I don't think songs are every song is made for every setting. And when you're talking about an album like this, where I think most of these like ratings, I think Metacritic was sitting at 100% forever, or at least for a day or so. Like when you see this type of ratings on an album, most of those came out overnight. Like less, I believe it is really good. I actually do believe it's probably his best album. I think right behind Good Kid, Mad City. But in all fairness, that is a classic, and this, classics have to endure the test of time. Not saying this won't, but it's hard to say that it will, and it just came out. It's just not fair. You just can't say that. I don't like when that happens personally. Auntie Diaries is the other track that is going to get, it's the one that ruffles. It's probably ruffled the most feathers, and I think it's just how he describes the his cousin and his uncle. And I just think I always listen to it. Every time I listen to it, was just he was just saying how his uncle technically grew up. He said my auntie is a man now. Yes, it is mislabeling it, but what his uncle was, it's just, I think it's a double. I don't want to. I think I understand where he was going with it. It's just like it was a guy, and he grew up and he became what he you know, men become, you know, boys become men, and you have to go through your truth and all that stuff to. Most people believe. I agree that you got to go through stuff to get there to become a man, and whatever your route is different. But that's and then the cousin angle is a little bit different. That's more about Kendrick just accepting it and understanding it, and I just think people try to go into it too deep and always want to. There's always something that you know everybody wants to jump on, but it is art. You can touch on it or state your case and or opinion. Sometimes I do think it goes too far, but that overall, it's a leap just on face value of what that song brings to the hip hop world. Just it's not much out there like that, so you gotta applaud him for that. Like I said, Mother Are Sober is the abuse and things of that nature. Really, really solid song. It's just Kendrick really does his thing on here. It's impressive. It was just an impressive project to me. He had 5 years to put it together. I felt like Damn that was his last album. I felt like that was just feeling the obligation to put out an album. I feel like he may have felt like he needed to get that album out. So it was still good, but nothing like this after he is able to marinate and he speaks to not, being in the right space. And this album was, God speaking through him. And, I get it. So I don't mind. I was never anticipating him. I didn't know if he was ever going to come out with an album again. And I think what he has delivered and given, at least a lot of artists, yeah, you want more out of your artist, but time you gotta take what you can get. But he gave more, and that was Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.